Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a monster of a book. I mean, it's a text that didn't just influence the self-help movement, it basically created the entire blueprint for it.
We're talking about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich from way back in 1937.
And our mission for this deep dive is, I think, pretty important because everyone knows the title, but almost no one really gets the detailed system behind it.
That's right. So we're going to break down the famous 13 principles, including some of the truly bizarre ones.
The goal is to give you, the listener, a real roadmap for understanding why this book has lasted so long and, what's actually useful today.
The core idea was, it was just revolutionary for its time. Hill's whole point is that success isn't an accident.
Right. He says it all starts as a thought.
Exactly. A thought that gets focused into a definite desire, and then you back it up with persistence. It's a whole system of mental discipline.
And you have to remember the context. This wasn't just him sitting in a room making things up.
Not at all. He spent something like 2 decades studying the most successful people of his era. We're talking Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford.
He was trying to reverse engineer their success.
To find a reproducible formula, a blueprint that mixed, practical steps with these mental exercises like autosuggestion.
Okay, so let's unpack this blueprint and let's start where Hill starts, which is all about getting your mind right.
That's the foundation of everything. The book is really a system for what you could call mental architecture.
Mental architecture, I like that.
And Hill is absolutely clear that the starting point for any kind of achievement has to be a clear, burning desire. Can't just be a hope or a wish.
So let's dig into that. When he says desire, he doesn't just mean I want to be rich. Right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's principle number 1, desire. And for him, it has to be incredibly specific, like down to the exact dollar amount.
So I want $1 million.
Yes. And by a specific date. And crucially, what you intend to give in return for that money. It's an exchange. He's basically inventing SMART goals before anyone called them that.
That specificity, that's the fuel.
It is. And it feeds directly into principle 2, which is faith.
I think when people hear faith, they immediately think it's something spiritual.
And that's a really critical distinction to make. Hill's version of faith is all about self-efficacy.
It's the unshakable belief that you can achieve that very specific goal you just set.
Precisely. And he argues it's not just, motivational fluff. It has a real function. He says faith actually speeds up the process of autosuggestion.
So by truly believing, you're lowering your own internal resistance. You're sort of hacking your own brain to accept the goal.
You're pre-programming your subconscious. But he doesn't let you just stay in your head. The whole system is anchored by principle 4, specialized knowledge.
This is a classic Hill idea.
Oh, yeah. He makes this really sharp distinction between general knowledge and specialized knowledge.
And he thought general knowledge was basically useless.
For making money, yes. He'd say what you learned in school, just general reading, it doesn't have much value on its own. It's the specialized knowledge, organized and aimed at your specific goal, that matters.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Knowing about real estate is general. Knowing the specific zoning laws and tax codes for a single neighborhood you want to invest in that's specialized. You either have to learn that or find someone who knows it.
And what I love here is he brings it all back to a simple, actionable ritual.
He does. The big takeaway from this first part is the blueprint. Write down that goal, the amount, the date, the purpose, and then read it out loud twice a day.
So you're hitting desire, faith, and starting on autosuggestion all at once.
It's an incredibly efficient system.
That's why it's a classic. Okay, so we've set the mind. Now we have to talk about execution. Right, let's get into the organizational side of things.
Yep, moving from the internal to the external. And this transition starts with principles 5 and 6, imagination and organized planning.
So you use your imagination not just to dream, but to actually build the plan.
To visualize the steps, to see opportunities others don't. And then you have to structure that into a detailed, organized plan, a real strategy.
But a plan is nothing without the right people. And this brings us to what might be his most famous concept, the one that's all over the startup world today.
The mastermind, principle 9.
What exactly is a mastermind, according to Hill?
It's one of the most powerful ideas in the book. He defines it as a friendly alliance of 2 or more minds, all working in perfect harmony on one goal.
So it's not just a support group.
No, the key word is synergy. He believed the combined knowledge, the experience, the resources of that group is far, far greater than the sum of its parts.
For an entrepreneur today, that means finding partners who have skills you don't.
Exactly. If you're a coder, your mastermind partner needs to be a salesperson. It's about filling the gaps in your specialized knowledge. It's like your own personal board of directors.
Did he give any advice on, like, the size of this group?
He didn't give a hard number, but the idea is a small, focused group, maybe 2 to 4 people. The key is that the knowledge complements each other, and you're all accountable.
Okay, so you have the plan, you have the team. Now for the hard part, the grit. Let's talk about principles 7 and 8. Decision and persistence.
This is huge. Hill saw indecisiveness as maybe the #1 cause of failure.
Really? More than a bad plan.
Yes. Based on his interviews, he said successful people all shared one trait. They made decisions very quickly and changed them very slowly, if they changed them at all.
And then there's persistence. I think this is where so many people, especially creators, they just fall apart. Failure hits and the desire just evaporates.
It does. And he says persistence isn't just about, gritting your teeth.
Yeah.
It has to be cultivated.
Did he offer any tools for that?
He did. His main tool was to immediately go back to your written goal statement the moment you feel defeated. He saw persistence as a habit that literally converts desire into money. It's the final test, really. If your desire can't survive a few setbacks, it wasn't a burning desire to begin with.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because now we move into the concepts that are less like a business manual and more metaphysical.
Yeah, we're definitely shifting gears here. We're talking about deep mental programming.
Let's start with principles 3 and 11, autosuggestion and the subconscious mind.
So the idea here is that by repeating your affirmation, you're bypassing your conscious, critical mind, the gatekeeper, as he calls it. You're planting the goal directly into your subconscious.
And once it's in there.
He claims it then works 24/7, nonstop, to guide your thoughts and actions toward achieving that goal. It's like putting a destination into your internal GPS.
A closed-loop system of self-persuasion. Okay, but then we get to principle 10, sex transmutation.
Right. This is the one that shocks modern readers.
It definitely feels awkward. We have to address why he thought this was so important. It became one of the 13 principles.
Okay, so the language is obviously very dated, but we have to understand his logic. He saw sexual energy as the single most powerful, intense, and motivating force a person has.
A kind of raw fuel.
A raw fuel, exactly. His theory of transmutation was about channeling that incredibly high vibration energy away from just physical expression and redirecting it into creative work, into business, into intellectual pursuits.
So he's saying that the same drive that fuels that biological impulse can be used to fuel a startup.
That's his argument. He concluded that the most successful people, especially later in life, had mastered this process of channeling that energy into their ambitions.
It reframes it a bit. It's less about suppression and more about redirection of a finite energy source.
Precisely. And the last 2 principles, they go even deeper into the mystical. We have principle 12, the brain, and 13, the sixth sense.
Okay, but if I have a clear plan and persistence and a mastermind, why do I need this metaphysical leap to a sixth sense? Isn't that just a substitute for good planning?
That's a great question. And Hill would say it's not a shortcut, it's the capstone. It's the ultimate reward.
How so?
He uses this metaphor of the brain as a broadcasting and receiving station for thought vibration.
Oh.
Now, he's not talking neuroscience.
Clear.
He's talking philosophy. The sixth sense intuition, those flashes of insight, hunches, that's the payoff. It's the door to infinite intelligence. But here's the key. You don't just get it. It's earned. It only shows up after you've mastered the other 12 principles.
So it's the reward for having your entire system humming along perfectly.
That's it. It's when you're so aligned that you can tap into something bigger. And that juxtaposition, between practical planning and these metaphysical ideas.
That's what the critics jump on.
It is. Concepts like thought vibrations are not scientific. They're not based on empirical, evidence-based research.
Which is the perfect segue to our last section. Let's talk about the legacy, the caveats. Why does a book with these claims still have a 4-star rating after almost a century?
Because the core structure is just so powerful and motivational. It gives you a clear 13-step path that is designed to spark massive action. And the central idea is hard to argue with. Define what you want, believe you can get it, and never ever quit.
And that one quote everyone knows.
Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. It's timeless.
But it's not a perfect book. So beyond the non-scientific claims, what are the biggest criticisms?
Well, first, it's entirely anecdotal. It's based on his interviews, not on controlled studies. And second, the book is very repetitive.
I noticed that. He circles back to the same ideas, desire, persistence, over and over again.
He does. And maybe most importantly, you have to read it with a a historical lens.
The cultural content.
Absolutely. The language, the social assumptions about gender, about careers, it's all rooted in 1937 America. It speaks to a very specific kind of industrial entrepreneurship.
So if you, the listener, are picking up the audiobook today as, say, a creator or an entrepreneur, what's the best way to use it?
I'd say treat it like a workbook, not a novel. Listen to it in chunks, one principle at a time, and actually do the exercises. Turn that desire plan affirmation formula into a daily checklist.
Let's get specific. How could a creator struggling with, say, imposter syndrome use autosuggestion to fight that?
By making the affirmation about the solution, not the problem. So instead of saying, I'm not a fraud, you affirm the specific outcome you want. I'm the expert who delivers X value to my audience and I earn Z for it. You feed your subconscious the identity you want and you ground it in the real world with your specialized knowledge in your mastermind group.
So who is this book really for then?
It's for anyone who needs that foundational mindset shift, aspiring entrepreneurs who need a kickstart and a framework for persistence. But it is not for someone who only wants data-driven behavioral science.
So our final verdict, what's the lasting value of Think and Grow Rich?
It's less a guide for modern business tactics and more a guide for mental architecture. It's incredibly valuable for building mindset and persistence, but you have to be willing to separate the practical steps from the more abstract metaphysical ideas. As a motivational workbook, its value is just. It's profound.
At the end of the day, it's about the power of making a definite decision and then taking action, and that never gets old.
And Hill's quote on that is the perfect challenge. Set your mind on a definite goal and observe how quickly the world stands aside to let you pass.
So that's the final thought for you to take away. Thinking about these principles of clarity and persistence, what is one major decision in your life, in your business, that you've been putting off?
And more importantly, what's the one specific, measurable action that would have to follow the moment you finally made that decision today?
That definitive action is the challenge we'll leave you with. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this roadmap helps you engage with this classic book in a new way.
Explore the material, but start with that one decision.